What is trade? The human activities engaged in buying and selling of goods and services come under trade. Therefore, trade includes sale, transfer, or exchange of goods and services with the intention of earning profit. The objective of trade is to make goods available to those persons who need them and are willing to pay for them. Thus, trade plays a major role in establishing contact between the producers and the consumers and eliminates the hindrance of person. A person who is engaged in trade is called a trader or middleman. Various traders operate between producers and consumers and remove the hindrance of a person. We can classify trade into two categories, internal trade and external trade. Internal trade, when the trade takes place within the boundaries of the country, you can call it internal trade. It means that both buying and selling should take place within the country. Payment for the same is generally made in national currency. This internal trade is also termed as inland trade or national trade or home trade or domestic trade. On the basis of the scale of operations, we can classify internal trade into two: 1. Wholesale trade. 2. Retail trade. Buying and selling in relatively larger quantities is called wholesale trade. A person who is involved in wholesale trade is called a wholesaler. Retail trade refers to buying and selling in relatively smaller quantities. A person engaged in retail trade is called a retailer. A wholesale trader buys goods in large quantities from the manufacturers and sells in relatively smaller quantities to the retailers. Thus, the wholesale traders constitute a link between the producers on the one flatted and the retailers on the other hand. Retailers who buy goods from the wholesalers sell them in smaller quantities to the consumers. Thus, retail traders establish links between wholesale traders on the one hand and consumers on the other. Thus, the wholesalers and retailers establish a link between the producers and consumers and eliminate the hindrance of the person. External trade. This is also called foreign trade or international trade. When trade takes place across the boundaries of a country, you can call such trade external trade. In other words, external trade refers to the trade between nations. This could be in the form of the exchange of one commodity for another or for money. We can classify foreign trade into three categories: import trade, export trade, and re-export trade. A. Import trade. When a country buys goods from another country, it is called import trade. For example, India bought machinery from the USA. This is an import trade for India. B. Export trade. When a country sells goods to another country, it is called export trade. C. Re-export trade. When the goods are imported from one country and the same are exported to another country, such trade is called re-export trade. Re-export is done by those countries which have ports that are conveniently situated to serve as distributing points for neighboring countries. Such countries import large quantities of goods and re-export the same to the neighboring countries. What are the aids to trade? Activities that facilitate trade are called aids to trade. Thus, all human activities which eliminate the hindrances and facilitate the flow of goods from producers to consumers come under aid to trade. They are also called auxiliaries to trade. The whole range of activities coming under aids to trade may be classified into 5 categories. 1. Transportation. Generally, all the goods are not consumed at the same place where they are produced. Therefore, goods are to be moved from the place of production to the place where they are demanded. The activity which is concerned with such movement of goods is called transportation. Thus, transportation eliminates the hindrance of place and creates place utility to goods. Transportation can be either land transportation, air transportation, or water transportation. 2. Warehousing. Goods may not be consumed immediately after production. Normally there will be a time gap between production and consumption. This is the hindrance of time. Therefore, goods once produced should be preserved properly till they are consumed. Particularly, perishable goods like milk, meat, vegetables, and flowers should be preserved very carefully. Otherwise, they get spoiled and become useless. For this reason, warehousing is recognized as yet another aid to trade. Warehousing refers to the reservation of goods to make them available as and when needed by consumers. Thus, warehousing eliminates the hindrance of time and provides time utility to goods. 3. Insurance. The goods may be destroyed while in the production process, in transit due to accidents, or in storage due to fire or theft, etc. The businessman would like to cover these risks. Insurance companies come to their rescue in this regard. They undertake to compensate for the loss suffered due to such risks. For this purpose, the business has to take an insurance policy and pay a certain amount regularly, called a premium. Thus, insurance eliminates the hindrance of risk. 4. Advertising. The exchange of goods is possible only when the consumers have knowledge about the existence of a product. This is a hindrance to knowledge. This hindrance is eliminated through advertising. Through advertisement, producers communicate all information about their goods to prospective consumers and create in them a strong desire to buy the product. Thus, advertising facilitates the flow of goods between producers and consumers by bringing knowledge about the products to the consumers. Advertising is done through TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, hoardings, and wall posters. 5. Banking. Banking facilitates the flow of goods by removing the hindrance of finance and credit. Nowadays we cannot think of a business without banks. To start the business or to run it smoothly we require money. Banks supply money. A bank is an organization that accepts deposits of money from the public, withdrawals on demand or otherwise, and lends the same to those who need it. Banks also provide many services required for business activity.